Namaskaram to all viewers of Jyotirmarg. Dear viewers, in our last episode, we heard about the Pandavas returning to Hastinapur, the kingdom which was being ruled by their late father King Pandu. After traveling through villages, cities, hills and forests, the Pandavas finally reached Hastinapur. As per the orders of Dhrutharashtra, Kuru heroes like Vikarna and Chitrasena and Guru Drona and Kripacharya welcomed the Pandavas on their entry to Hastinapur, the capital city of the Kurus. The citizens of Hastinapur were so happy that they waited for the Pandavas on both sides of the road and on the balconies of houses. As if it were raining from the skies, they showered flowers on the Pandava brothers and Kunti and Draupadi. They distributed sweets among themselves and danced with joy. In one voice, they hailed those heroes, saying, "Welcome to the brave sons of Maharaja Pandu and Rajamata Kunti." Instead of one Pandu, the gods have now given them 5 Pandus, they said. In short, all the way from the city limits to the palace, the people of Hastinapur celebrated the arrival of the Pandavas as if it were the one thing that they had been waiting for all through their lives. Kaurava princes like Duryodhan or his brothers had never been hailed like this by the people of Hastinapur. Guru Drona and Kripacharya were astonished beyond all limits on seeing this endless love and affection being showered on the Pandavas and Kunti and Draupadi. Now they saw this with their own eyes. They realized that the people had chosen the Pandava princes over and above Duryodhan and his brothers and Karna and Shakuni. Like that, accepting all the boundless love and affection of their people, the Pandavas finally reached the palace and paid their respects to Bhishma Pitamaha and King Dhrutharashtra and all other elders who were present there. Thereafter, as suggested by Dhrutharashtra, they retired to the chambers which had been kept ready for them for rest and for food and refreshments. Like this, the Pandavas lived there for a few days. Then, on an auspicious day and at an auspicious time, they were summoned by Bhishma and Dhrutharashtra. On their arrival, addressing them, Dhrutharashtra said that with the intention of avoiding disputes, competition and rivalry, half of the kingdom is being awarded to them. So they may take possession of that region known as Khandavaprastha and live there without any intrusions or problems. Dear viewers, Khandavaprastha didn't have any population or city or palace. It was the area adjacent to and also surrounding a great and large forest by name Khandava. See how unfair were the actions of King Dhrutharashtra, about which even the great Bhishma had nothing to say. Ever since the Pandava princes and Kunti were brought to Hastinapur by the Rishis of the Shadashringa mountain ranges, they were treated like enemies. Finally, they were exiled to Varanavata to live in the house of lacquer. Then Duryodhan, through his trusted minister Purochana, tried to burn them alive by setting that house on fire. But with the timely warnings and help of Vidura, who was their late father Pandu's younger brother and prime minister of Hastinapur, the Pandavas escaped from that wicked conspiracy of Duryodhan. Coming back to the present, without raising any objections and without waiting any further, the Pandavas paid their respects to the elders and left for Khandavaprastha. As if by God's grace, Rishi Vyasa and Vasudeva Krishna also joined them, and Vyasa identified and marked the perimeters for the construction of a full-fledged city for the people who would come to live there in the days to come. Then the Rishi also decided on the spot for a suitable palace for the Pandavas. That city was large enough to accommodate several lakhs of people, and various types of houses, including mansions, were also built for those who would come to live there. It had well-constructed roads, drainages, irrigation system, gardens, lakes, places for recreation, and places dedicated for various arts and crafts and academics, and also for taking care of the sick for their treatments. Large and dedicated spots were there for growing and keeping and for the protection of cows and horses, separate places for the army like quarters for soldiers, their training places, eateries, and so on. All varieties of flowering plants and fruit-yielding trees and birds like peacocks and parrots were in abundance in and around that city. And then that city was surrounded by very broad and inaccessible trenches as wide as very big rivers. The city walls were so high that it seemed that those walls were touching the skies. Then they built the palace, which was like the palace of Kubera. Dear viewers, we are not dwelling into further descriptions of the palace and the city anymore. Instead, it will be sufficient to say that it stood in comparison with Amaravati, the abode of the Devas, and Indra. Because of that, the city of the Pandavas came to be known as Indraprastha. All during this time, Lord Krishna stayed with the Pandavas at Indraprastha, and then at an auspicious time, in his divine presence, the Pandavas made their formal entry into the new palace and started living there. Thereafter, bidding farewell to the Pandavas and Draupadi and his aunt Kunti, Lord Krishna returned to Dwaraka. By this time, the name and fame of the Pandavas and their newfound kingdom had spread far and wide. And then there was a flow of citizens from all walks of life, from neighboring as well as far off kingdoms to Indraprastha. Brahmins who were well versed in Vedas and scriptures, and merchants, farmers, tradesmen, artists, and others looking for various jobs and assignments came in groups to live in that great city. Within a short span of time, Indraprastha became a well-populated city flourishing with cattle and agriculture and trade and commerce. Like that, the sons of Pandu founded their kingdom and started living there. They ruled their land in peace and harmony, as Yudhishthira's rule was based on Satya and Dharma. During this time, one day, the great time traveler and sage Rishi Narada descended in that land and visited the Pandavas. Dear viewers, here ends this chapter of Rishi Vyasa's timeless epic Mahabharata. Hari Om.